It says I'm live. I'm not messing around with any intro videos. I don't have time for those. I just have this kind of stuff.
I'm going to do a terrific show today, and I'm going to help people because I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me.
So, I'm trying to record. In fact, if I hit record on my QuickTime. All right. So, I started working on this background the other day, and I'm going to see if I can zoom out so you guys can see all this stuff. Mostly my hand's going to be in the way, but let's see. As soon as I started this, the dog came downstairs. And if he's trying to get outside, he's going to have to wait because somebody else in the family is going to be home soon. I'm going to get to my camera settings. This thing, there we go. This thing decided to zoom all the way in whenever it started. So it's weird trying to get this setup figured out. I got a glaring light pointed at it, and the only thing I can do to tamp it down is to put a piece of vinyl backing paper against it, and it just kind of cuts the glare down a little bit. But anyways, how is everybody? I got an hour and a half before I have to be in the car, so it's telling me the recording stopped. What the hell? I'm not happy right now. I can't sew this thing into a freaking video unless I'm actually recording. All right. Okay, hopefully this is going to stay put. There you got to go. So I'm going to try to read comments if at all possible. And come on. Oh, hey Brian, thanks. Oh man, glad everything's finally melted here, and they got some construction going on down the street. Which honestly, it's weird. If I see construction guys and whatever they're working on is tented, I feel like they found some like ancient tomb or are working on some super secret stuff that's not good for anybody. I'm trying to get to my own freaking show here, my videos live. I need to get it so that I can see my own stream and talk, because if I can't read shit. I can't read the comments. Here we go. I can't read the comments from over here. So I got to have the phone up. There we go. I can't read the comments. All right. I think I'm good to go. So I did a thing. I started working with art storefronts, and it's kind of it's an investment, and I already kind of like paid it off, but I don't want it to go nowhere. But it did teach me a valuable lesson, if nothing else, is that I have a very special form of procrastination. I don't know what this technical name for it is. I think well, even if there were pills available for it, I wouldn't take them. And it goes like this: hey, you have stuff to do, and I'll say, yeah, you know what, you're right, I do have stuff to do. What about it? And I'll say, it'd be really cool, instead of doing the stuff you're supposed to do, is getting into other stuff instead, and jumping off into some sort of endeavor that you already don't have time for, but you will convince yourself is somehow noble, and off you go. And that's kind of what happened. So catalyst. So I put a little bit of hardener in the paint, that way whenever I go to clear it, it doesn't wrinkle up on me. And I don't know how to take pictures of this stuff unless it's clear coated, because it's glossy and glary and it picks up all kinds of light and just bounces back at you. So I put a flat clear on it, and that way it kind of helps it so that if I want to make a print of it later, I'll be able to. Just got a bunch of different colors on here. Normally all of my bottles of color are all stuck upside down in the bottom of my kit because it's on wheels. It goes with me whenever I go to do pinstripe repair or do work on somebody else's car. Yeah, I think at some point I'm gonna have to figure out how to get this lighting thing set up, like stop everything and instead of getting some like it's not even like a slapdash studio put together. It's like I've never really taken time to stop and go like, you know what, this doesn't work, figure out why it doesn't, and really just feng shui the thing. This has been a half finished basement from the time I moved in, and man, I got all this stuff around here, and it's like, what am I gonna do? Stop everything, tell everybody to all my customers, I'm closed, remodeling. But then I say my brother's doing it, and he's like taking videos of and he's doing it himself, for crying out loud. Putting up walls and stuff. Like, if he can do it, I can do it. But it would be great just to have this. You know what I really need is one of those red lights at the top of the stairs where the basement door closes and it says on air. Then I would have to, teach everybody in the family that I'm really serious when it says that. I don't ever have any time to do this. Anyways, whatever. I'm complaining. So I've been watching a lot of what's been going on with this indie comic thing over the last couple of days, and it's weird how I don't want to say like how easily it is to get sucked in, because I am interested in it. I'm interested in all aspects of it, mostly because I don't do it, and it's something that I've been trying to work on. Like for the last couple of days, I've just been watching YouTube on one monitor while I work on my comic book on the other monitor, and I just kind of like put it down so that I could pick this up. But a lot of what's been going on is, and when I say like it's bothering me, it's not necessarily bothering me, but I haven't taken the time to really opine on it. And since I'm on my own channel, why not? But this thing with Eric July and the Isom comic, and the way that the drama has come down on that, reminds me of a lot of I've experienced what, let's say, what Ethan is talking about. I've experienced what Ethan was talking about with taking criticism, or when giving somebody criticism, then they're unwilling to hear it, which is all something. It's all standard. I think everybody's been through that before. But the part I feel is the most interesting aspect of it, and I think that other people have experienced this in other industries. And I'm talking, I'm like rambling and get to the point, and here it is. I've been involved in custom paint for years, since the late 90s, early aughts is when I first got into it. And I've experienced this with being in the mall scene, airbrushing t-shirts. And anytime there's there's a space or an industry where other people think that it's really cool and they want to be involved, there's that false, there's that assumption that because somebody else makes it look easy, that it actually is easy, and you want to get into it and you want to make your mark because they can do it. Why can't I do it? And great, that's commendable. Go ahead, but if the people that are already there are trying to give you advice on how to make something look good, it's not just because they want to sound. It's not even that they want to sound superior to you. It has everything to do with the craft that you're in. So I thought this would be easy to explain. It doesn't matter. Whenever Jesse James came out and started doing his choppers and stuff on the Discovery Channel, that shit blew up huge. Okay, and I see the same thing happening with Comicsgate and independent comics, and how many people want to get into it that and I want to make it sound like think that they can do it, or they're doing their own version of it, which is great. But but then there's the, what? See, this is the thing. It's like when you have these like comic book characters that sometimes fight and they sometimes don't, or like with pro wrestlers, and then they're fighting and then they get along. Isn't there that part of that story arc, Brian, where you have, okay, finally people are seeing eye to eye, or finally somebody gets it. And we were talking about a little bit before the horror movie fan club show, and I used to work with this kid, and he's a decent artist, and he's made some mistakes and had to pay for them. When I say made some mistakes and had to pay for them, I mean like an entire paint job peeled off the bike because he didn't know how to prep it. And this is the analogy that I'm trying to draw. I don't begrudge somebody getting into a spot that they've never been in and trying it. But if you're going to get in front of the entire world and say that you're going to be a Marvel and DC killer, man, you better know what you're talking about. When the custom chopper thing became super huge, okay, and this is the analogy I wanted to draw. When it became so huge that everybody wanted to build their own chopper, and they did. If you weren't in the middle of it, like if like I wasn't even in the middle of it, I was just painting these things, and it became this thing where everybody was doing a backyard version of what Jesse James was trying to do. They're literally going to Home Depot to find parts to put their bike together with, having absolutely no idea that you've got the wrong tensile strength on these bolts that you are going to put a human body on, yours or somebody else's, and send it down the road. And in a couple of miles or a couple of 100 miles, if the bike stays together that long, never mind engine trouble if you don't know how to put one of those things together, that this thing is literally going to fall apart. Like on a front wheel, if you put on a front wheel and you don't have your spacers on there the right way, your bike can go into this thing called a death wobble, where the steering will start to shift and shimmy on you, and there's literally no way to stop it unless you very careful, apply the brakes or whatever. Otherwise, you're gonna dump this thing over. And this is, people who are getting into a space thinking that they can be what they're seeing on TV. Overhauling. You're gonna steal their, on TV, of course, it's part of the gig. You're gonna steal their car. You clean it up. We're gonna have a bunch of guys on this thing for a week, and then clean this whole thing up and make it super awesome. And then at the end of the show, there's the big reveal, right? And then this car, it's great, and the guy's really happy and stuff. And I've seen some of these things up close. You look at them up close, and they're really not that great. You know, they look great on TV, and everything sounds great. It's all hyped up and all that. But under closer scrutiny, this car is, you know, it's missing bolts key or whatever. They just threw it together with the time enough to make it look good for TV, and it wasn't the real thing. The comic book that I'm trying to put together, because I've experienced this in this custom paint field where, you know, people are, and what it does is this: it ruins the entire market for the people who are taking this thing seriously. Okay, so if you've got, like, one of the guy that got me into pinstriping was he's one of the greatest artists I've ever seen. Hey, Madness, thanks for stopping out. One of the greatest pinstripers I've ever seen. Great marketing. I'm proud to call him my friend. He was approached by the Discovery Channel to do the same thing, but with pinstriping art. And he asked me what I thought, and I told him exactly what I'm trying to explain here. I'm like, look at what happened to you know, the custom chopper scene. Okay, it blew up. Okay, and there's a bunch of people who are making stuff that they didn't know what they were doing. And what you're going to do is you're going to inspire you're going to inspire a lot of people, but you're also going to inspire a lot of people to pick up a brush, not knowing what they're doing. They're going to go out there into a customer base that doesn't know what they're looking at. They're going to call themselves a pinstriper. They're going to screw up somebody's car, and that's just going to make pinstriping as a whole look like a fly-by-night operation. I've had to fix paint jobs for people in the past, not just paint jobs, but I mean straight up, somebody screwed up here. They didn't sand it right. They didn't prime it, like where the paint is not sticking to the surface. And I mean, I've had to learn the hard way on stuff like that, but I always learned the hard way on my own stuff. I didn't do it on somebody else's if I could help it. You know, corrected my own mistakes, took advice. Okay, but one of the things I didn't do was, when somebody told me I was doing something wrong, I didn't tell them to fuck off, because they were just, you know, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm trying to do something different here. Like in design work, your company's colors are yellow and white. You know, as a designer, if you're going to put something like that up on a billboard and you want people to see it, you need to listen to that designer say, look, we need to change some colors here so that people can read your yellow letters on a white background. You know, and if you're not willing to listen to them, and they're trying to help you, then you're not just hurting yourself, but, you know, you're hurting it's bad for your company to take that kind of instruction from the person who really just like doesn't know. So anyways, that's the analogy that I was trying to draw. This is you know, the people that are like drawing comics, or the people that are doing pinstriping, or the people that are working in whatever creative endeavor there is, they love it, and they care for it. Like I've said before to people, I love my art and I love my wife, but I can only put one of them out on the corner to make money for me. And one of the things that I don't want to have happen is to have somebody come along and say, hey, I want to, you know, insert bad thing that I want to do to your art, and here's money. You know, like, well, no, you know, just like a pimp would say, don't do that. I need her later. You know, that's just going to ruin the reputation. It's going to, I can't believe I'm using this analogy. It's like ruin the trade. But it's the kind of thing that, and it's not even gatekeeping. It's the kind of thing that you would have with a guild and a journeyman. You know, somebody who's learning a trade. You know, you're going to learn it from somebody who actually knows, instead of having somebody come up there, screw all kinds of stuff up and infect it for everybody, and again, and this is part of the problem. If it was just an indie comic, that would be one thing. I know that I'm not that good. I know that I've got issues with the way I'm laying out a panel, or the way that I'm laying out a page of panels. I'm going to have, issues with what do I do with totally black or whatever. Even just like my workflow, I'm spending too much time trying to get this hand just right when I could ball it up in a fist and move along, and and all of those things. But I'm aware of it because I don't want to embarrass myself, in front of other people. I still have to get the book done, but I don't want it to look like total shit. I can give myself a little bit of leeway and forgive myself a little bit. But one of the things that I'm not doing is standing up in front of people telling them that this is going to be the greatest thing that they've ever seen. There's I think honestly you need to be like a little bit more responsible than that. Now, like, you could like have a disagreement with the way that the whole thing is being approached by Ethan, but I kind of see where he's coming from. This has been going on for years. You want to invite people in because you want to expand, invite people into the big tent. But if they're, get cocky about it, and I don't mean confident. I mean just like outright cocky about it and complain about, how come their stuff isn't better, like they're being treated badly by somebody. I try to look in the mirror more on this stuff than point fingers at somebody else when it comes to this. Um, I think that what is going on over at Trashcast is a huge blow up, because he's basically saying, you know what, fuck this. I'm tired of people coming in here trying to make something of themselves that they're not. They won't take advice. They're making everybody look like an asshole, and I'm done with it. If the guy that I used to work with in the early 90s, I was partnered up with a couple of people, and for like 3 years. And then it went the way of like a rock band that just has creative differences. The guy that I was painting with he was a one-trick pony. He did Real Fire because it was popular, and that was it. He put skulls in there, and it looked really good, but that was the only thing that he could do. That he didn't do any pinstriping, he didn't do any portrait work, and even when he did learn portrait work, and he put like a pinup girl, the fingers looked like sausages, and I would constantly try to find a diplomatic way, because I knew he was sensitive about it. I would try to find a diplomatic way to say, maybe get a photo reference or whatever. But this is the type of person at the time. It's been a while. I'm sure I've talked to him since then. He's matured a lot more. He's a much better artist. The type of person who, instead of taking a vinyl squeegee to lay down vinyl, stiff, something like this is what you're supposed to use to lay down vinyl, would pull out a credit card or his driver's license, which is not the right tool, but he saw somebody online use it as a trick and thought that was cool, and that's the way that he was going to do stuff. Meanwhile, the customer walks out the door, shit falls off the car, and now everybody involved looks bad. It's bad for the entire company's reputation. And I honestly think that's a big part of what's going on with the Rippaverse and in this Trashcast stuff. I understand how he feels about this, because I felt the same way about the people that I dealt with in custom paint. It's the same dynamic. And mean, to be totally honest, the way that he's handling it is, I mean, for entertainment value, I mean, geez, the guy's got his bills paid just based on super chats. I don't know that I could personally do that. So, but there's been times where I've wanted to, like, to somebody, like to their face, grab them by their lapels and be like, do you understand that your bad work is affecting other people around you, and you're affecting the entire industry as a whole? You're not backing things up with, you're not backing things up with what, your mouth is, you know how it goes. Your mouth is writing checks your talent can't cash. But I think what's happening is that Eric July is defiantly coming around, and because, like, the people that he has in his orbit cannot just be sitting there going, no, Eric, you're right. I mean, do you seriously think that somebody like Chuck Dixon, who is writing, is not going to, if Eric was to happen to come up with like a bad idea again for something that's supposed to happen in the book, Chuck Dixon isn't going to say, yeah, that's a bad idea, let me tell you why. And as an extreme example, I'm not mind reading or anything like that, is I've got other work that I could be doing. I'm going to walk off this project unless we do things the right way. If that's not, I can't believe that that's not happening. Is somebody like a seasoned pro like Chuck Dixon isn't going to be letting the owner of the company just roll over him. He's an independent creator and gainfully employed, easily gainfully employed. I mean, I think he's got to have a couple of projects going right. In fact, I think he does. I don't know. I got to keep an eye on the time. I tried to get to this yesterday. I tried to get to it today, and then my phone blew up while I was I'm trying to listen to stuff while I'm in the shower, and all I'm getting is text messages is, hey, my tins are ready. Hey, can you do this? And my bike's going to be ready in the spring or whatever. And I'm like, man, I just had 3 or 4 days where I was working on my comic book and it felt really good. And now I'm going to be going back to some stuff. It's not that it's not fun. I've been trying to get away from it to do this other thing. I mean, I got into art because of comic books. I always wanted to make one, but I was always intimidated. I realized you needed help. Yeah. Exactly, Brian. That's that's great. And I mean, if in the end that's what happens, then that's awesome. If he can grow from this, then that's great. I just wish it wasn't so reluctantly. You know what I mean? If it wasn't like, you have to know that this is the first time you've ever done anything like this. And not to say that Ethan understands this perspective from his point of view, but he's never done anything but comic. I'm sure he's had other jobs in the past. I think even he was airbrushing T-shirts in the mall before. So, I mean, we both got that box checked off. But, like, for instance, there's a guy, I'm going to be picking up his tins in a little bit here in a couple of weeks, and he wants some real fire on his front fender. His front fender is as wide as my hand. Okay, so there's a little bit there that I can put some texture in. But then he says, I'm sure you guys pops must know what yeah. No, I am totally working through the anxiety. That's not even really, it's not anxiety. I'm hyper aware of that. I know what I don't know. But I can tell you this much. This is the part that really feels good. The longer I work on it, the easier it is to work on it. And I picked up on it the other day. It's like when you work the rust off of that nasty bolt and you can finally spin it freely, and there's not a lot of effort. That's what's happening to my brain. And it's just like this. This is, when you're doing pinstriping and stuff and lettering and you learn the tools and you learn the brush, after a while, it's your body does it. There's muscle memory involved. Hey, Miami Spice, what's going on? Thanks for showing up. Um, but I don't know. I think does any of what I'm talking about make sense? It's not even whether I think Eric July had is a really good idea, but he doesn't know how to put it out there. And I think one of the reasons why he's had this, it's probably going to go away. Pardon me, man. Breakfast is coming back. It's probably going to go away after a while. He's going to grow up about a little bit, and things, the dust is going to settle down, and then he's going to realize that there's Brian. You know this is true. There's more to writing than just wanting to be able to do it. Like even I've had to think about it. Like, my dumbass, the first time writing a comic book, and I've got it chock full of characters, and now I've got to figure out how to make them sound distinct from one another, and not like myself. I'll tell you one thing though that has come from all this is the critique that Ethan did of ISOM #1 uh, made me change one of the panels in one of my pages. It's one of those, when you step away from it, you look at it from orbit, you get a bigger picture, and you're like, you know what, this is just, it's not good enough. And I don't mean to the extent where it's got to get done and it's got to get out there, and I do want that to happen before I die. I'm not trying to make it the best thing in the world. I just want it to be as like, if there's a little bit of an improvement that I can make so that I don't look like a rank amateur, and it's not going to take a long time to fix it, I will. I don't know why I put that highlight there. It really doesn't belong. This one does. This one does. But I don't know. Some people are like, man, who cares? This is all just drama and stuff like that. But I've been listening to this going, man, I know what he's talking about. I know what he's feeling. It's it's that love for the craft, that love for the industry, and somebody's coming in trying to say that they're going to make it very, very awesome. And I'm talking, and let's be honest, big talk. Big talk. You're calling yourself a Marvel DC killer, and then you put out something that isn't quite that. People call you on it. I mean, you got to be a man about it. Otherwise, you're going to end up. I mean, dude, isn't that like the biggest thing that we want from anybody that we hang out with on YouTube or in life or whatever, is just some integrity and some honesty, you know? I do. And I'm guilty of not having done that. I was doing like independent comic book review type stuff like early on, when I was just introduced to the space, because I had the camera, I had the books, and I was like, well, I'll tell people what I think, and I couldn't be honest about it. I was too worried about, well, this is somebody's trying to make, one, do I even know what I'm talking about, and two, how badly am I affecting? I know nobody's watching the channel, but I don't want to be that person that says your shit sucks, and you know do I don't really have the eye for it totally. So I just realized that I wasn't being honest with my reviews, and just decided to take all of them down, because I felt like, I'm like, I don't understand this. Is it me, or is it the book? Is it something that I'm just not understanding about what the artist is trying to get across? Or, is it me not understanding it, or do they really just suck that bad? I don't want to have stuff spoon fed to me, but it did make me feel a little bit better when I was watching that ISOM review, because not everything, but some of the stuff that I was questioning was brought up. Like, why is this here? Why is this not there? For instance, like, I think Eric Weathers does great work. I think he's very talented. Um, and I understand there's times where there's like misspellings and stuff like that. Like Brian, when I mentioned two left hands, I wanted to, I told you off your your channel, because I was like, I don't even know if it's right to bring this up in front of the internet. But you didn't. You're like, oh yeah, it's like stuff like that. happens sometimes and I didn't catch it. Well, there was a word balloon in there without a tail on it, and I was like, well, that's oh man, Eric made a mistake. Do I even want to point that out? Because I like who he is online, and I don't want to be the asshole who's pointing it out. Like, why are you pointing that out for? That stuff just happens sometimes, dude. Give it a break. Anyways, Brian, do you know what? If I say the word Ohatmu, do you know what that is? If you're still listening, that is Ohatmu. OHOTMU. Yeah, because I stuck a video up on Twitter, a link of a little video I did of the official handbook of the Marvel Universe that had all the front covers that John Byrne did, and they were all inked by Joe Rubenstein. And it was this long running tapestry from beginning to end about it had like every character, every villain in the Marvel Universe going front to back. And when this, controversy about, hey, how come there's no power levels? How come we don't know anything about this character after 2 issues? And they're like, I was like, the comic books that I collected when I was a kid, the first one was the official handbook of the Marvel Universe, mostly because comic books weren't allowed in the house. Long story. But I convinced my mom it wasn't a comic book because there are so many, it's just nothing but words about the characters that I couldn't buy comic books for. I wasn't. It was the height of the satanic panic. So if it was pop culture, it wasn't allowed. I should just put the black dots in here. Actually, no, I'll do the highlights on the skull. Where's my hardener? Anyways, rant over. Unless somebody says something else about it, and then I can continue. I think I work a lot better when there's somebody on here with me. But whatevs. Let's see what time is it. Yeah, I got like an hour left. That is really subtle. I don't think anybody can see that. And this glare is not helping. This is what the glare looks like without. I mean, that's just cray. There's a couple of vinyl mask that I need to cut out for a customer I haven't talked to in a long time. And the reason I haven't talked to him in a long time is because I was working with him for a little bit, and he was doing my clear work before I was doing my own primer and my own paint. And I was relying on other people to give me a decent finish. The one guy that I was using, he did amazing work, and I didn't even realize how good it was until he moved, and I had to try to find somebody else to produce that same quality. And I didn't know how to do it. I just watched other people. So I finally, it was one of those things where I can do artwork for you. You want to do finishes for me, and everything will be great. The difference is I kind of cared about what I was doing, and then I got a parts back. One of my biggest paint jobs at the point, up until that point, and the clear coat. I didn't even notice it because it was like on the bottom side of the tank. And plus, I trusted the guy. It was like I didn't feel like there was no need for me to double check. Mistake. So there I go, giving the parts back to the people. They take it out to the dealership to have it put on the bike, and the service manager there is like, "Are you seeing all this?" And all on the bottom of the tank, the finish is dry, not wet. Should look glossy. I mean, at the end, it should look like a piece of glass. There is flake in it. So the only thing I can imagine that happened is somebody picked up a dirty gun, mixed up clear in it, and sprayed my stuff. And whoops, and then didn't say anything to me about it. Either they didn't see it or whatever. But that was a, screw this. I'm going to learn how to do it myself. And, that's where I, learned how to do all the aspects of a custom paint job that didn't have to do with artwork. And that's it. Just it carries over. When I got that, when I got that ISOM #1, and I was like, is this really what? And I wasn't sure, and it took me back to that moment. I'm like, all right, I guess. I mean, if this is acceptable, turns out, it's not. I just didn't, trust my own instincts. I do not want that, because I mean, there's an expectation. There's an expectation that I have because this isn't for someone. This is a design that I did one time on a panel that sold at a car show, and I was like, oh man, enough people had commented on it, and then somebody actually bought it, and I was like, well, maybe I have something here. So I made it into an Illustrator graphic, and then cut it out, and I was able to just stick the outline on here and then color it in, which other people might think is cheating, but this is my design. It's a whole different dynamic. This is not the equivalent. It would be the equivalent of making your own 3D asset and then dropping it in. I guess that would be the best way to put it. So yeah, when I talked, like, even like, for instance, I've talked with Preston Acevedo. I'm sorry, Preston Acevedo, about his custom airbrush work. And did he ever get into working with the like in the booth with a spray gun, spraying clear, polishing, and all that stuff? And he was straight up. He was like, no, other guys did that. I just did the artwork. He stayed out of that part because it wasn't something that he wanted to mess with. So, and I think he would have been considered a subcontract for whatever shop had him come in to do the stuff. So the customers that he worked for weren't always necessarily his his customers. And that may be another, it might be another. Mushroom coffee is supposed to be good with you. I have a feeling it's making me stutter and trip over my own tongue. So that's another aspect. But, and here's a point. I don't do the prime. Come on, paint, come out of there. I don't do the priming and the clearing anymore. I have the tools. I even have some of the materials, but I don't have the space, and it's not something that I'm super passionate about. When I do it right, but it's not the part of the job that I seek out. Having Brian, you'll be able to attest to this. Having been a writer, or being a writer, you can tell when somebody's a good writer. I can tell when somebody does good body work. I can tell when they do good paint work because I've done it before. And so I can find somebody to do it for me, which is what we were alluding to earlier. If you get Mike Barron and Chuck Dixon, you're in good hands because they know the craft. I am not one of those people on the other side of some imaginary idol that wants to see Eric July fail. I want him to succeed because I think the comic industry needs it. They need they need good stuff. So much of this what's out there is crap, and that's objective. It is sometimes it's just absolute junk. And it's incumbent on anybody who's going to be like, this is going to be awesome to make it awesome, to be great, and all that. I think that he's on his way to doing what needs to be done to make that Rippaverse work and to make it what it's supposed to be. I just wish it wouldn't have been such a so reluctant about it. Is all. I'm actually kind of like looking forward to buying buying more books now that I've had literally have my shit taken care of. that whole mess. I'm finally bouncing back. I had to throw down money because my daughter bought her first car and she got a lot of help. And now that that's over with, I've got some side jobs coming in. Knock them out, get them done, and get back to spending money on some fun stuff. Some fun investments that I hope my family knows what they're all worth when I'm dead. And I think about that sometimes, like, yeah, these independent comic books, there's nothing like them. And they could be like a good, like monetary investment. And I believe that. And then I go, they'll be worth something after I'm gone. I look around, dude, at all the tools I've got, the books, there's little trinkets and toys and stuff. And then I think about my cousin who makes he's got a side business, his eBay store, and it's all estate sale stuff. And that you think you've got something that's worth money that you're never going to actually sell or do anything with because it's got all the sentimental value. And then once you're dead, what happens is the surrounding family doesn't want to put up with it because they're grieving. They just want the whole thing to be over with. And then somebody else just comes in and grabs it for next to nothing. Like the only people that are out there that know that your stuff is the only people that are out there that know that your stuff is worth anything are total strangers. That person at the garage sale that picks up some comic book that's worth thousands of dollars, he's getting it for 50 cents, and the first thing he does is looks around to see if anybody else noticed. I'll be able to clean that black up later. I don't know if I'm actually making any progress on this. I liked the way that this looked once I got all the basic colors in. I was debating on whether I should, put any details in it or not. Originally, it was just a black and white image that was supposed to be like an icon. I used it for an icon. I was maybe gonna put it on some T-shirts, but like my thought process revolves around when do I have to be to work so much. I'm resenting. It's a good job. Okay, I like the company, but it's I would rather be doing this. Anyways, let me put some black dots in this chain and then call it. I think the main reason I wanted to get something like this going is I wanted to get on camera and bloviate about something that has nothing to do with it. And well, like I was saying before, same dynamic, different industry. Okay, let's see here. Of course, that assuming that anybody's watching. But the end of February, I get to go to Ohio and hang out with a bunch of custom paint pinstripe nerds. Oh, thanks, Miami. Yeah, next time I'm gonna have I do this. I'm gonna have to like invite people on. I need enough time to do something like that, and the hours are just weird. And I wasn't actually sure how I was gonna, because my head is pointed down most of the time. But well, thank you. That's very kind. Oh, did you see Expert's video earlier that he was doing about the American Airlines flight that had to turn around because somebody was on there like farting over and over and over again and like making the cabin so stinky and nasty that they had to turn the plane around? Yeah. That was cray cray. I got to stop talking like that. And that's an outdated term. Yeah, man, he is. He's crazy. He's funny. Silly goose. I forgot to bring my paper towels in here. That means these brushes are getting cleaned off on the jeans I am wearing. Okay, so that's a little bit better. I'm not sure what I'm probably going to have to airbrush some stuff in here. Oh, you know what? This needs a highlight around the nose for sure. What the hell? Get some white, a little bit white highlights on the teeth. Actually, that doesn't belong there. I need paper towels now. Um, I don't want to put so many highlights on here that I end up killing the texture that's underneath. I kind of like it, but I think for today, I'm probably pretty good. Um, save the video over there. I have a video of the other parts of this piece, like the beginning part. So when it's all done, I'll have it all together, probably as a good portion of it as a time lapse. But I appreciate you guys showing up. Miami, you're always welcome. Thank you so much for the compliments. And Brian, it's great to talk to you. Pops, um, loved having you around. But I'm gonna hang this up for today and pack my lunch and make sure all my I don't forget anything before I leave. So yeah, there's a bunch of them. I think most of what I do is a time lapse. In fact, there's a I can put the link in the chat. There's a time lapse I did. Actually, a time lapse I did about cyber fraud. Let me see if I can find it. Um, my stuff. Your channel. Videos. me see. Spencer turning tool. I don't think I can find it. I don't think it was that long ago. I want all of them. What's going on? I didn't think it was showing me all of them. Okay, tumbler stripe, this thing, that thing. Blah, blah, blah. Should get rid of that one. Yeah, I don't know what happened to it. I'll have to throw it out on. I'll throw it out in the DMs, and you guys can check it out that way. But yeah, you have a good rest of the day too, Miami. And while you're at it, have a good day tomorrow. We don't talk before that. And rest of you guys, take it easy. Thanks again for showing up. If there's anybody you feel like, I mean, I trust your guys' judgment, but if there's anybody you think that you want to add, if you can, I don't know if you're allowed to, or if it's just the person that created that DM, but if you want to add somebody to it that I forgot about, then feel free, and we'll just perhaps we'll grow this audience for a video channel that rarely does anything. What'd you call it, in a timely fashion? So take it easy, guys. Thanks again. Sub to the channel if you haven't already, and I will catch you on the flippity flop.